Hello Clotpoles, today I'm going to be ranking my top 5 Merlin characters, but remember, this is a part 2. At the end of the video there will be a pop-up where you can watch my first video, which is my real top 5 list with all my favourite characters. And I just want to say, I don't care what your list is, how many times do I have to put it into your thick skull? I need to do this ranking alone.
Do you want us to help you? Or do you want to do this alone?
At number 5 on the list is Mordred. I love that we get to see Mordred grow up during the series, and I think his transition from good to bad was a bit too fast, but overall justified. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but Arthur did sentence his friend to die, which was such a stupid decision that would obviously turn Mordred against him. Plus, in the past, Morgana has shown great kindness to Mordred, making his decision of joining her a bit more reasonable. But come on Mordred, look at her, she's so obviously the bad guy. I must say however, Mordred was a much better character when he stood with Arthur. He was really funny and a genuinely nice man who had no bad intentions at first. It was great fun seeing a younger knight join the group, as he would often be the butt of all the jokes, which was a really new and funny dynamic. Mordred had a great bond with the knights and Arthur, which made his betrayal that much more impactful. Mordred was a brilliant character, but he had a tragic end. My number 4 pick is Morgana. I know a certain person who is going to be mad about what I'm going to say, but here it is. Series 3 to 5 Morgana sucks. In the later series she's a completely different character, and her change from good to evil did not convince me at all. But you may be wondering, why am I convinced by Mordred's change and not Morgana's? Well, it's mainly due to my headcanon that if Mordred and Arthur survived the Battle of Camlan, that eventually Mordred would come to his senses and see Morgana's evil. I personally don't think Mordred turned into a bad person when he joined Morgana. I see him as a person who's angry, filled with rage because of what Arthur did, but would eventually calm down and see sense. Morgana, on the other hand, went from the most kind and caring person to a cartoonishly evil person with no redeeming qualities and no chance of redemption. But enough waffling, Morgana is number 4 on the list only because she was one of the best characters in the earlier series. She had a really sweet and caring side to her, but could also be a badass with a sword. I also thought her relationship with Uther was fantastic, and I loved it when Morgana decided to forgive him in episode 12 to kill the king. Anyway, I'm bored of talking about this goth, so let's move on to number 3, which is Gwen. I hate that Gwen is not higher on the list, but she lost too much of her quirkiness when she became queen. Before Series 5 however, she was fantastic. She had a unique fun personality which made every scene a joy to watch. Well, maybe not every scene. She could be so painfully awkward at times, but I love that about her.
No, I like much more ordinary men like you.
Gwen, believe me, I'm not ordinary.
No, I didn't mean you. Obviously, not you. But just, you know, I like much more ordinary men. Like you.
Thanks.
Just like Series 1 Morgana, she was no damsel in distress and could be super badass and very clever. And let's not forget how satisfying it was to see her call out Arthur on being so rude. Speaking of Arthur, their relationship was great. She really helped change Arthur from a brat into the once and future king of Albion, and it's easy to see why. She cared for him greatly and saw that Arthur is not a total cabbage head on the inside. Gwen was just the sweetest and most wonderful character, but I wish she could have been higher, but she simply can't because of Series 5. This next pick on my ranking is going to cause outrage in the comments, but at number 2 is Agravain. I love Agravain. He was in only one season, but he was an amazing villain. What separates him from Morgana and Mordred is that he's not strong or powerful, but he's just very slimy and clever. He's Arthur's uncle and has a lot of power when it comes to influencing Arthur's decisions. Agravain constantly gives Arthur the worst advice to bring his kingdom down, but he always gives great reasons of why his plans or strategies were the way forward. This weasel was just so fun to watch every episode, as each time he's on screen he has a new evil plan. He's just such a hateable character, making his death that much more satisfying. Also, the moment where Arthur realises that Agravain is a traitor was super impactful and sad, as this is the second time a family member has stabbed him in the back. This isn't to do with the character, but I don't understand why Merlin got the pleasure of killing Agravain. I always thought it should be Arthur who got to kill him. At number 1 is Uther Pendragon. Uther is such a complex and well written antagonist of this series. My perspective of Uther is always changing, as he can be a great king and a caring father. You know what? Uther was actually a nice guy, apart from all the death he caused. But to be fair, his reasoning for hating and banning magic was justified, and sometimes I think his ban on magic was actually a sensible decision. Obviously Uther was way too strict, but magic has caused so much harm, and before Uther banned it, Camelot was filled with chaos. But what makes me love Uther is his relationship with Arthur. Arthur has always felt that Uther cares more about his kingdom, but Uther has undeniably loved his son and was very proud of him. Also, there was a strange sense of security when Uther was king. He was definitely a strong leader. Nobody wanted to mess with this badass, but if they did, they would pay for it with their lives. Uther is just that, a twisted badass. But it's his moments of kindness that separate him from the other antagonists. A lot of the time we're rooting for Uther to triumph because at times he does appreciate those around him. Gaius is one of Uther's most valued friends, and in the first episode he was even grateful to Merlin. And of course he loved Morgana, causing him to become a wreck when she turned evil. Overall, Uther was a phenomenal character and a good person overall, corrupted by his hatred of magic. Sometimes it's hard to hate Uther Pendragon, King of Camelot. Now that's the end of the video. Despite the intro, please leave your top 10 lists in the comments, I'd love to read them. Join the Discord, like and subscribe, and goodbye.